So I guess if you're talking like when I was, or where I was born in Dallas, Texas, and grew up there for 8 years. And then my dad moved my sister and I to Newport Beach, California, which is what we like to call Orange County, which is the Orange Curtain. But it's basically just a pretty sheltered and extremely wealthy town, like beach town in Southern California. A lot of white people that play tennis and sail and golf and own like Teslas. So I pretty much wanted to get as far away as possible from Orange County ever since I was pretty young, and there was never a doubt in my mind that I wouldn't move to New York. And I guess the easiest kind of way to do that was through college. So I'm about to graduate at Parsons with a graphic design degree, but that's essentially, I guess, how I ended up in New York was one kind of the seed being planted of like, fuck this place, like fuck Newport, and then like, where's the farthest / kind of most, insane place I could go, and that was New York, and that was always New York, and so I'm here. Well, normally I don't talk about this on the first date, but for you, David, so I guess, everyone has a complicated past for sure, but I didn't quite grow up, well, I guess I didn't at all, not quite, but I didn't grow up with my biological mother. She left when I was about 6 months old, and my older sister was about 2. And I think there was like moments where she could see us if she was being drug tested, and that whole kind of legal shit going on. But so I didn't grow up with her. Her name's Haya. She still lives in Texas, and my sister and I actually met her. Well, at least I was 18 the first time I met her, and kind of, I guess, long story short, there was my dad just trying to kind of replace a role that was mother. Married someone who was kind of extremely fucking shady. But so I had one stepmom, and now I have Susie, who's my second stepmom, and I don't feel like I'm not explaining this right, but I've had 2 stepmoms, and it's all been, it's been fine. It's not ideal, but it was basically just poor decisions made by adults, and my sister and I we're just the product of it. Like, we had no say, and your parents only want what's best, but sometimes judgment gets kind of clouded and stuff like that. But yeah, I have a very interesting relationship with my biological mom. It's kind of like having this idea that you grow up your whole life, till you're 18, 19, and what is that you don't have a mom, sort of thing, and then all of a sudden you're allowed to see her because, well, you're fucking 18, and you're allowed to see them, and it's a really strange kind of shift of identity where you're like, oh shit, okay, now I have a mom, and I can't, or I won't tell people I don't know my birth mom. But yeah, it's a really strange kind of shift that I feel like maybe was not hard for me to get used to, but we're just different. And it's a process for sure. It's you can never get back those years, and yeah, it'll just never be the same. But it's just tough. I don't know how to talk about it. It's weird. It's a lot, especially when they're not, when you meet them for the first time, they're not as good as you want them to be, or they're not as strong or as stable as you want them to be, and they're still struggling with all these things, and you kind of question, you're like, well, I'm supposed to be the kid, why do I feel like the parent? And that's tough. But it's all for a reason, all that corny shit. But yeah, so life's a beach. I don't really have, I feel like I was just rambling there, but yeah. Okay, so my sister, she's 2.5 years older, so she's 24, about to turn 25. And I mean, typical sisters, like, I grew up, obviously the younger one, so I grew up, like, worshiping her, and she was like, you get the fuck out of my life, sort of thing, you know? So I would just constantly annoy her, and then kind of in high school, we grew really close, and she always claimed that she hated cities and would, like, never live in a city and all this, like, crap. And she went to college kind of out in the middle of nowhere, dropped out, whatever. And I got a call from her one day, and I was living in Brooklyn in my first apartment that was, like, really sketchy and, like, super overpriced and, like, just horribly renovated. But she called me and she goes, she was living in Nashville at the time. She's like, all right, I'm driving to New York. So she drove, to me, showed up on my doorstep, and, like, crashed on my floor for about a month. And it was really interesting. I remember being, like, really stressed about her coming too, because I was like, oh God, like, we're in the same city. Like, is there going to be some weird, like, kind of, like, rivalry sort of thing, even though we're not really like that. But it was strange. It was just me being me. I was like, oh gosh, she's, like, encroaching on my territory. But honestly, having her here is, like, the best thing in the world. She lives in the city and I live in Brooklyn, so it's, like, a nice kind of space that we have. And yeah, she's like my mom in the city. Like, I mean, I feel like we both play that role for each other. Like, if either of us needed anything, like, we would be there in a heartbeat. So yeah, it's, like, really awesome having her here. And, like, all my friends, like, don't really know her that well, but they're always like, so what's up with your sister? And I'm like, she's the sickest person ever. Like, I don't know, I will, like, always, like, she's, like, really just one of, like, the most unique and, like, special people. I'm gonna start crying. I hate this fucking wine shit. But anyways, yeah, my sister is, yeah, she's really, I feel like, I mean, in a corny way, like, obviously we're supposed to be sisters, but I really feel like we are so much stronger, like, together, and that will never change. Like, yeah. So now I'm gonna be, like, crying for the next thing that you asked me. Jesus Christ, David. Throwing them back now. All right. Let me gather myself. I'm just laughing because I keep thinking about Max editing these, and he's just gonna be like, oh wow, like, what a fucking pussy-ass bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I don't give a fuck what you think, Max. You can suck my dick. Yeah, Erica's sick. But you guys already know that. Yeah. But yeah. I'm gonna turn my nose ring straight so it looks normal. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like kind of like the same question of, like, what are you doing after you graduate? Like, that sort of like Hallmark, like, post, like, whatever, card sort of response, but, or question. I don't want to, I mean, that's something I think about every day, because I feel like I'm, like, supposed to know what I'm doing constantly and, like, what my path is and all this stuff. But I think through having a lot of kind of conversations with friends who are doing just, like, really eclectic things and surviving in this city and you know, enjoying themselves, and just through talking with them, I think that, like, knowing what I'm doing right away, or even just, like, trying to picture, like, fantasize about what I'm doing, is just going to stress me out. And I think that I know my level of comfort and, like, what I need day to day that'll just, like, make me a happy person on this planet. And, you know, unfortunately, like, being comfortable means, like, you know, needing to make some sort of money and, like, contributing to this consumer capitalist structure. Woo! But yeah, I think I know my limits, and I think I know my limits. But as long as I can kind of, you know, have a place to live and, like, a shower and, like, some food, I'll be okay. But I think, like, once you get past those levels of, like, okay, I'm comfortable, then you kind of have this privilege to be like, okay, let me, like, interrogate, like, what would feed my soul in a way, or like that sounds so corny, but like in a way, like these ideas of like what do you want to do when you grow up are like very privileged kind of discourse that we have. Like it's like if if I was like broke as shit and like didn't have anyone giving a shit about me, and my day-to-day was like I need to support my family or all these things and stuff like that, I don't really have that option to kind of be like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And so it's really awesome that like I have this kind of space to be able to be like, well, I'm like worth something, and I should do something more than just, minimum wage or whatever it is. But I don't really know where I see myself specifically, but I hope it's doing something creative, and I don't think I'll ever not be in a creative setting, but and then there's like little things that I want to do, not little, but like, music has always been a huge part of my life, and as I get older, it becomes like sort of farther and farther away of like attainable, but it's still a huge kind of part of my life, and I think we'll see. It's more frustrating, kind of like there's no right or wrong answer to anything, and there's like so many ways to go about it, and I feel like the main thing that gets drilled into, I feel like a lot of people's brains is like, focus on plan B and then you can work on plan A, where I feel like maybe we should stop thinking that way, and like maybe a little bit of struggle is good, and like maybe working on your passion is going to be more fulfilling. But I also know a lot of people that just try so hard with their passion and nothing works out for them, and they're so beat. So it's tough. It's like there's really not a right or wrong. And so, like I'm fucking 22, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Don't ask me for advice. But yeah.